Greetings, travelers. I'm your host, the C. That Knows a Lot, Dr. Waluigi. When it comes to the many classic directors out there, I've sadly seen very few movies of the late David Lynch. I have been slowly checking out some of his work, but much like everything else in life, I just haven't had the time to sit down and watch his entire filmography. At the time of this video, I've seen a total of 4 David Lynch movies: Eraserhead, Dune, Blue Velvet, and the subject of today's review, a movie based on the sad life of one Joseph Merrick, who was a man that was known for his severe deformities which led to his hard and tragic life. However, many knew him under his stage name when he was exhibited in a freak show that is the title of today's movie. This is my review of The Elephant Man. The movie is loosely based on the life of real carnival actor Joseph, or John Merrick, who was a man that lived a horrible life due to his extreme deformities, which were the subject of many medical research papers which labeled his deformities as Elephant Man disease. His life was recorded into 2 different books, and after his death, his skeleton was, and is, still on display at the Royal London Hospital Museum, where he lived for the remainder of his life. Eventually, this led to 2 other adaptations of John's story. One was a play made in 1977, and the movie made in 1980. The movie was thought up by producer Jonathan Sanger, who optioned the script from writers Christopher DeVore and Eric Berggren. Sanger ended up showing the script to Mel Brooks, who loved it so much that he chose to fund the movie, but asked to have his name be removed from the credits as to not let people think that this was a comedy. Where Brooks' assistant recommended David Lynch to be the director, and after meeting with Sanger, Lynch agreed to direct the movie after reading the script and sharing several of his ideas for the movie. The movie not only became a box office success, making $26 million against a $5 million budget, but was also nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards and led to the Academy creating the Best Special Effects and Makeup category. This was a movie I remember mostly being referenced in a lot of media as a young adult, and I always wanted to check it out for myself. Since then, it has become one of my all-time favorite movies, despite it being quite a depressing story. The movie follows a doctor named Frederick Treves, played by Anthony Hopkins, who discovers a horribly deformed man named John Merrick, played by John Hurt, working as a circus freak calling himself the Elephant Man, where Frederick takes him to the Royal London Hospital to try and get him to live the rest of his life in comfort, leading to the life of a very extraordinary man that will bring a tear to your eye. One of the best things about this movie were the casting choices. Anthony Hopkins is so amazing as the doctor who cared for John, though I'm not sure how close the performance was to the real person. Regardless, I love how Anthony plays this character as someone who does care about this horribly deformed man and goes out of his way to try and help John live the best years of his life, knowing that he doesn't have long to live. Though there are moments in the movie where you can't tell if he is doing certain things out of respect for John or if he wants the fame that comes from him being there. Which does add to the character's likability when he does get mad at people disrespecting or even using John for selfish reasons. Which does lead me to the best character of the movie. John Hurt plays such a heartbreaking and sweet character with John Merrick, who at first might be seen as a mentally challenged man, but it turns out was quite intelligent both in the movie and in real life. With Merrick having created models of buildings he would see from his window, and having read quite a lot of books that people thought he wouldn't be able to. I feel like John Hurt really captures what John Merrick was like when he was alive. A kind and gentle soul that was unfairly treated due to his deformities and the time period he lived in. The other actors are just as good in this movie, my favorites being Treves' wife, Anne, played by Hannah Gordon, who is scared of John at first but sees the kind soul and is one of the few people that treats John like a human being, and Anne Bancroft, who plays Madge Kendall, a real-life stage actress that John was friends with, seeing every one of her plays, and both of them sending letters and Christmas cards. There are a lot of other characters that do stand out to me, especially the antagonists of this movie, but we'd be here all day, and I really want to talk about my favorite scenes. What can be said about this movie other than it is a masterpiece of storytelling? I love the writing showing the life of this man's ups and downs and all the people he meets and how their lives are affected by his interaction. My favorite scene being the first time he meets Madge Kendall, with her and John reciting a scene from Romeo and Juliet. Then she kisses his cheek and tells him that he's no elephant man, but Romeo. It's a very powerful scene that is framed and performed so well that I get teary-eyed every time I see it. It cannot be said enough that the makeup deserves every bit of praise with how close they got to having John Hurt look like Mr. Merrick. They weren't able to get a one-to-one version of the man, but they got pretty damn close to what he looked like. I know that it was hell for John Hurt to wear all of that heavy makeup and prosthetics, but I'm not sure if he had fainted or any other problems that were on set. But regardless, he did a fantastic job given the strain he must have been under. This movie really is a beauty that, at least in my opinion, has no flaws. I know what I said, and I'm keeping this short and sweet. I have nothing to say about this movie that is negative, nor will I mention anything negative surrounding the film because it doesn't amount to much. This is one of the movies in my collection that I consider to be perfect. The writing, the acting, the effects, everything about this movie is like looking at a piece of art that shines on the screen. I do think that not many people will appreciate this movie because it's not a movie with tons of action or a gripping story, but that's what makes it so special to me. It's closer to a play, and the actors have to carry the story of this beautiful man that lived a life surrounded by people who loved him despite how he looked. Overall, I give The Elephant Man a 10 out of 10. It's one of the few movies that I would consider to being perfect and having no flaws. Though I do realize that is a bold claim and people will disagree with me, but I ain't no liar and I will stand proud to call this a perfect movie. Thanks for watching, I'm Dr. Waluigi, and remember, don't judge a book by its cover, cause you'll never know what's inside. Good night, everyone.